From Atal Bihari Vajpayee to Mohan Singh to Narendra Modi, he's seen the world change right in front of him.
Undoubtedly one of the most influential politicians of the world. He's a very compelling and enigmatic figure on the world stage.
The President of the Russian Federation for you.
Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're joining us live here on India Today for our rolling non-stop coverage. We're counting down to Vladimir Putin's touchdown in India. Importantly, we're also counting down to the mega telecast of the India Today world exclusive, Vladimir Putin exclusive here on India Today. I think the setup we've got here, Gaurav, is very indicative and very symbolic of the message of India-Russia friendship.
This is a friendship that stood the test of time. It's a time-tested relationship that's actually held through thick and thin. Two partners who've stood with each other, and this is a relationship that's actually undergoing a transformation right now, as that India Today world exclusive interview will actually indicate.
You know, those are almost literally the words that Vladimir Putin has mentioned to describe the India-Russia story right now and what the relationship looks like going forward. So what we're going to do over the next 1 hour here on the special broadcast, Gaurav and I will be joined by my colleagues on ground and here in the studio as well, as we get you a sneak peek of what to expect in that big world exclusive. It's already got the world talking. I don't know about you, Gaurav, but I've been getting endless messages, calls, asking me when the interview will be out, asking me for particular points about what really Vladimir Putin has said.
Because this is one person, President Putin, one of the most powerful men in the world. There's a war that's on between Russia and Ukraine that Russia calls the special operations. President Trump sent a special team. In fact, when India Today cameras were there in one room of the Kremlin, in the other room of the Kremlin, you had Steve Whitkoff and Kushner in talks with President Putin, trying to find a solution. And the first interview President Putin has given is to India Today.
So he's actually spoken about that. I don't want to give away too much because I've heard the nearly 100-minute long interview. But it's actually spoken about what you're referring to, Gaurav, about Donald Trump, about the Ukraine war, about ties with India. There's so much about oil, nuclear ties, so much more that, you know, it's a long, long list. Every aspect, every global issue that you can think of, we've got it covered in that interview. So without any further ado, let's put out pictures of what really our interview looks like, because in less than 4 hours from now, that countdown on your screens, in less than 4 hours from now, we will have the full interview, mind you. And this is the interesting aspect, Gaurav, is that, you know, when this interview was planned, lined up, we were planning this for months together. It was a slotted 60-minute interview. From that to becoming a 100-minute long interview speaks volumes of how Vladimir Putin has chosen to take every question, said, take your time, ask me anything you want, completely unscripted, free-flowing conversation that's gone out to 100 minutes.
So the West has tried to villainize Vladimir Putin. India Today will show you a different side of Vladimir Putin, all facts, all questions asked. But then there is a Russian perspective, and in this Western agenda-driven news, you get facts in public domain. There may be some who'll try and say that the news has to be done from this perspective. As far as India Today is concerned, we give you news the way it is, free-flowing and facts first to keep India first.
Very true. And the message of India first for Putin, Russia first, it ultimately translates to the same thing, because you see both countries have such a great relationship. That's what Putin also constantly refers to in that interview. But enough from us. I want to bring in, I know we've transported ourselves via the set to Moscow because we're here in the national capital. Let me bring in Geeta Mohan. She's joining us from Moscow. She's had that conversation with the Russian president. So who better than Geeta to tell you about what to expect in this interview? Geeta, first of all, a huge congratulations on being a part of such a historic agenda-setting interview, one that's grabbing international headlines right now. But I want to understand from you, and I think this is a question most people have, and I'm sure you've got it a lot. What was it like? What was the experience like of interviewing the president of Russia, Geeta?
Well, it's one of the rarest moments in a journalist's career when you get to interview a world leader. And Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, is one such instance, an experience which is going to be unforgettable. The crew, our entire leadership, everyone was here. But going into the Kremlin, walking into those corridors and going into the Ekaterina Hall, which is the Catherine Hall, historic, that's where all the important meetings, the decorations, all those occasions are celebrated in that very room. So it was amazing, just one, to be there. Secondly, waiting for President Putin then to come for the interview and then interviewing the man himself. And I say this because it was a no-holds-barred interview. We asked him any and every question that we wanted to. We had our own counter questions to every response of his. And he very freely spoke about everything, whether it is bilateral, India-Russia relations, India and the region, Russia and the region, and Russia and the world. So we did not confine ourselves just to one subject, that is his very, very important visit to India, which comes after 5 years, but also more importantly, the fact that where is Russia today? It's a changed world order in many ways than one. Russia certainly is in the middle of a very intense war, not just with Ukraine, but also with how Europe, the West, and America is looking at this entire region. So in all of that, what we are looking at and what we understand is that this is a very confident Putin. Despite all the gains or losses, a very confident Putin who thinks that he has sent out a very strong message. And at this point in time, with the change in administration in US, the fact that they're engaging the administration over here in itself speaks volumes. That's exactly why it was a historic moment, because the day before, when we were at the Kremlin, in that very same hall, in the rooms, just a few rooms away, there was a historic moment unfolding right in front of us. That is the meeting of Jared Kushner, Steve Whitkoff with President Putin. And in that meeting, there was a lot of forward movement on how America is looking at an engaged, negotiated settlement between Russia and Ukraine. We'll break that down for you because that's a very important breaking news. But it was, in all, an amazing experience. Anjana and I were prepared, but also the fact that it went very, very smoothly when it comes to interviewing a leader, and he was absolutely okay with taking any question. The interview had to last only about an hour, but it went on for more than 90 minutes. That speaks of how comfortable the entire atmosphere for an interview, an intense interview at that, was.
No, you're right. It was intense, because I was watching it and thinking that, look, this particular issue, for example, there were some of those topics that were brought up that I was wondering how Putin would address, but he took them all head on. But Gaurav, to you, you've tracked the India-Russia story for so many decades now. What is the one aspect that you're looking forward to hear about from Mr. Putin?
How is this relationship being taken forward? How does this move beyond just being defense and strategic relationship? How does this go into the economic aspect? Because economy drives any relationship to the next level. Russia-India relationship, it stood the test of time, whether it's before the 1971 war, the agreement between the two countries, the 1999 war in Kargil, and how Russia was quick to rush military hardware to India, and subsequently the nuclear submarine that we have, the kind of technology and knowledge that India gained from Russia. So over the years, military cooperation is very strong. How do you move beyond that military cooperation, beyond energy, to trade, for example, people-to-people ties? How do you take that forward? Once that happens, this relationship will only rise and soar after that.
No, very true. And I can promise you, Gaurav, that when you tune in, and so do our viewers at 9 p.m., he actually has answers to that, about what the future of India-Russia ties look like. There's such a deep sense of trust that you also get when you listen to Mr. Putin speak about India, or speak about Prime Minister Modi, for that matter.
That's very interesting that you mentioned his camaraderie, his camaraderie with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So President Putin has been at the helm of affairs for about 25 years. If you remember that picture that you and I were talking about in 2001 when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. That's the time. And we have that picture. That's the time, Narendra Modi wasn't even Chief Minister of Gujarat till then. He became Chief Minister of Gujarat in end 2001, early 2002. And that's when something started changing. But from that to now, that Narendra Modi has been Prime Minister of India for 11 years, they've met perhaps 19 times plus. It just goes on to show how close the bond between the two of them are. I was there in Tianjin. We were reporting from Tianjin, and that's when President Putin waited for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They traveled in the same car. There's a conversation around that, and that also shows how close the two are to each other. The Russia first and India first, how they partner together is something which is very important, Akshita.
Those are the pictures right there that Gaurav was referring to, the 2001 pictures. You have Putin, you have Vajpayee, and you have Narendra Modi right behind. I will also, of course, show you exactly that moment where you can see Narendra Modi right behind them. So you essentially have seen Putin ensure that, the Russia-India story goes through despite different regimes and through different courses of really our political journey, India's political journey, our growth story. Putin has seen all of that.